in the past kind of got merged into this PCS region now. A lot of the fans of that region have felt that they have been overlooked since then, since the days of yore with the Flash Wolves and some of those really dominant rosters. But Maple is the same guy coming from that team from the past, and PSG, I think, has improved throughout the tournament. Their first showing against Mad in that earlier group stage was poor, but from there they got better and better. They were very competitive in the second showing against Mad here, and they're going to be looking to take down Cloud9 here, move to 2 wins, and more importantly, put Cloud9 to 0-4.
Yeah, this is such an important game for both of these teams for the reasons that you already talked about, with these two competing for one another for that 4th slot. If you're considering Damwon and RNG and Mad to all be those top contenders, if you're not going to knock one of them out, Cloud9's the one that it's got to be.
Yeah.
So the head-to-head means so much in terms of tiebreakers, in terms of that close race for 4th.
It absolutely does. And the one win that PSG has so far in the group stage, albeit they have only played the 2 games, is against Pentanet. And that is kind of the more expected win in this group stage. So though they are sitting at 1-1 right now, they have yet to play a number of the other top teams. So this is a big game for them, very big for C9 as well. You have to think even just for momentum, for state of mind.
Yeah.
A lot of the Cloud9 players are going to be looking towards this game as one of those must-wins, even before their losses in some of those close games to RNG, to Damwon. You're still thinking in the back of your mind, if you're a Cloud9 player, yeah, but if we beat PSG and Pentanet, and we just focus on that, the rest is okay. You can try to improve throughout the tournament. You can try to grow into a spot where you can consistently compete with some of these other squads. Whether or not that will happen will be dictated by the fact that they win or lose this game.
Yeah, Cloud9's losses, I'd say each of them is very frustrating in their own way, right? The RNG game, they're down, they start to come back into the game, they lose to a team with superior macro. In the game against Mad Lions, boom, triple kill in the top half of the river at level 3, game's over, GG go next. Game against Damwon today, looked like they might have been able to do it, might have been able to have that powerful protective comp with the 2 supports, doesn't work out. Damwon outplays them, outscales them, beats them. So Cloud9, North American fans want to see this team be able to put something together that works. And now that we're into the draft, let's see what that is going to end up looking like. We have Gnar, Varus, Thresh, Senna, Tristana, and Renekton all banned away. It is an Udyr for Blabber first and foremost, and they grab the Victor for Perks in the mid lane. Over on the other side, PSG Talon's first 2 picks will be the Kai'Sa and Lee Sin.
All right, very early blind Victor here. We are assuming that the Lee Sin will be top. Of course, yes, this can be flexed a bit, can be flexed to jungle, but let's be real, it's mostly been played up in that top lane. Kai'Sa plus Nautilus, the expected bot lane perhaps here for PSG, but they are thinking about swapping that over. The set, yes, that could be for Vulcan, but Vulcan really hasn't played this a lot whatsoever, so I'm thinking this is very likely going to be set top for Fudge. So now there's going to be some disparity in the picks here. You know, do they want to match picks? And they do. They want to get the Morgana. This is kind of one of those matchups where people are starting to look at this like a bit of a triangle between Rumble, Morgana, and Udyr. A lot of people are feeling Udyr has an advantage into the Rumble, that the Rumble has the advantage into the Morgana, and that the Morgana has the advantage into the Udyr. These are all slight and, of course, depend on your composition as well, but to oversimplify, it's very difficult for Udyr to actually, you know, just run straight at a Morgana and bear slap her when she has the Black Shield, when she can bind you on the way, right? Like, it gets tough. You have the Black Shield also to kind of empower and support the Kai'Sa, who wants to be diving into the backline, is very vulnerable to CC when she does so. Black Shield her up, she ults into that backline, can look to assassinate some of these champions over on the Cloud9 side, and there's going to be a lot of focus towards the AD carries, because Cloud9 did not draft one in their first phase, and there was already 3 AD carry bans before we even got into the second round of bans. Kalista is going to be added to the table, so Kalista, Tristana, Senna, Varus, Kai'Sa, all taken away. We did just see Ashe, so that is a possibility. Jinx is still up. There is, you know, the off possibility of things like Cog Lulu that is still available as well. So there are options here for Sven, but it's going to be something that he hasn't been playing as much so far this tournament.
Right, we get to see Nautilus, Blitzcrank, Alistar, Kalista all banned away. So 3 big meatball supports and an AD carry that utilizes them all wonderfully as big old bowling balls. And now, ooh, are we going to get that locked in? No, maybe not, maybe not. Hold on, let's see. PSG Talon still has a little bit of time to think about this. All right, it's Kai'Sa, Leona.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So this makes a lot of sense. As soon as I saw that Blitzcrank ban come through, that's why I was kind of jumping in, because they're denying so many of the heavy engage supports, right? Lulu is something that is very susceptible to the Thresh, to the Nautilus, to the Blitzcrank. You know, the Alistar got taken off the table. Yes, Leona still has the ability to dive in, and that is still going to be there. But you have drafted a pretty beefy front line. You have high consistent DPS. Cog Lulu is something that we saw earlier in the day from RNG. Only once before that, if I'm recalling correctly, did we actually see it in the tournament. And it's going to be a Kali. So very aggressive picks here over on the PSG side. I feel they must snowball this game to really be competitive. Yes, there is, of course, always a miracle chance of that perfect kick, that perfect flank. But when you are looking at solo laners here of a Kali, of Lee Sin, when you're looking at the range of a Kaisa, of a Leona compared to that of the Kog'Maw, with two big beefy frontliners, the Set, the Udyr, consistent magic damage, good range and zoning as well from the Victor. Yeah. Cloud9, I feel like, has the late game in spades, so it's going to be up to PSG to really push the pace of the game, to be either escalating their lead through objective control or through taking early towers, getting early kills, and really extending that advantage, because they want to be playing the true position of power. If you fall behind this Cloud9 composition and you are having to walk towards them in a 5v5,
oh, there's no way.
There really is just no way.
Yeah. When you look at it, they've even got the AD carry who wants to dive in with Lee Sin and Akali and Leona and make sure that they kill this Kog'Maw. And if PSG Talon can splatter the ground with Kog'Maw's Void Ooze and just kill him over and over and over and over and over and over again, then that's how this composition makes this work. Destroy that Kog'Maw. Remove that critical piece of the puzzle that this team needs to work. Because if you don't, man, Bio-Arcane Barrage in a late game situation with a Lulu to protect you and Victor's Gravity Well to make sure that they can't engage cleanly, it's just a nightmare scenario for a comp like that, if they aren't ahead.
It absolutely is, and it's really difficult for champions like Lee Sin and like Akali to be able to close the gap, to get in there and deal with Gravity Field while also trying to deal with Polymorph, while also trying to get on top of this Kog'Maw. You have the added difficulties of Bear Stuns, of Set Peel. The ultimate for Peel can come through from Set as well. So I do think that Cloud9 has drafted some really, really strong tools. I think Set can scrap pretty effectively with the Lee Sin, though the Lee Sin will have the pushing advantage, especially in those earlier levels. You're expecting the EMAX from him. You're expecting him to get dominance from that lane as a result. And then you're going to have Blabber really playing around his lanes, being careful that if his top laner is shoved in, you cannot go towards those topside objectives. You've got to be careful about the assistance coming in for River from his solo lanes, especially the topside where you're expecting them to be the ones pushing. And depending on how that bottom lane goes, you know, I do think Cog Lulu can actually win the 2v2 straight up against Leona. That is really just dependent upon execution, because if the Leona can find engages, then you can really start to win in that 2v2. But if the Leona is getting whittled away on, if you can't find those Zenith Blades, you can get outranged as the Kaisa, and every time the Cog W is up, shield up the Cog, he walks forward, gets a few autos down, and it can get to this difficult situation where you're getting outranged and punished even in the early game by someone that outscales you. So that is always scary. And we're going to have to see these junglers playing appropriately around their pushing lanes, making sure that they're not repeating the mistakes of the past, especially on the Cloud9 side, who has had a tremendous amount of errors, mistakes around these scuttle crabs, you know, even sometimes the decisions to go for them.
Yeah. And in the bottom lane, I like the fact that you bring up, hey, it's a skill matchup in the 2v2. It could go either way, because remember that Doggo is a substitute player for the side of PSG Talon. He was originally from the second place team in the region, Beyond Gaming. He had to be the sub here because their original AD carry was not able to attend. So that just means we'll have to see if these two want to go for that skill matchup in the 2v2, if they feel like they have enough practice and they got enough reps to be able to outplay in this situation, or if they'd rather opt for playing a less aggro game, being able to just farm it out, and then see if they can work together in those team fights to find those dives.
Exactly. And the other thing you always have to be worried about when you are playing double range on this bot lane, when you're playing Lulu Cog, even if you're winning the 2v2, you must be sure that A, you know where Morgana is, and B, there's no wards behind you, because you are going to get attacked. That is generally one of the weaknesses. You know, to win the lane as Cog and Lulu, you've got to be pushing, poking, harassing. You know, Cloud9's bottom lane, I would say, has been the most consistent part of their entire squad throughout this tournament. I think they have played very well through both the group stage as well as the early games in this Rumble stage. So they've got to be aware of the potential potential of ganks from River, and this is a nice ward to spot any potential moves out from Fudge, who had the push at level 1. Very hard to contest at level 1 for the Lee Sin. So, you start the E on the set, you get the push, he bounces the wave, he takes that time to ward up the Morgana. So he can back off without any punish as well, which is so critical. And that's why in top lane, minion management is so important. You have to have it timed out. When do I think the jungler is going to be here? And make sure that the wave is moving towards you at that time, right? If the wave is frozen outside the turret and Morgana's up on the top side, well, all of a sudden you're losing so much. But because he got the bounce, yes, Lee Sin can push in and reset here for free, given that the protection of the Morgana is there, but Set is always going to collect this and doesn't have to put himself at risk whatsoever.
Yep, easy farming up there for him. And Cloud9 has now made it past the most difficult point in the game. Level 3 Scuttle Crab has come and gone.
Let's
and
go!
No one is dead just yet. There is no first blood over a damn Scuttle Crab. We got to see junglers pathing towards opposite ends of the map. So it was PSG Talon with the topside Crab. Cloud9 getting the one there in bot as Maple just shoves in Perks here at mid. Yes, Perks has the higher health right now, but no mana as Hanabi gets found here in the topside river. Blabber going after him. Flash already coming through. Blabber decides to go after him, and ladies and gentlemen, Blabber with the first blood.
Nicely done. The big play there from Blabber, killing Lee Sin as he moved down towards mid lane. I think that was a roam on an attempt to actually punish Perks, who's out of mana. And that is even bigger because now it means Maple has got to play it careful here. Perks is not going to get attacked, is going to be able to reset this wave very likely and get back to base here. Has to be careful about any potential trading, especially around this Shroud, but Maple doesn't have eyes on the Udyr, so you always kind of have that in the back of your mind that he could be coming over here. And you've also got to remember that PSG, I really do feel, are on a clock. We're, of course, not even 5 minutes into the game. That is not relevant just yet. Right. But every minute that passes in parity is in the favor of Cloud9.
And back there in the mid lane, yes, Perks not having the mana. Yes, he might have a little bit of a health advantage that's sort of evaporated since then, since we started talking about it, just because the nature of a mana champ versus an energy champion, right? Once Perks runs out of that mana, he will have to go back to base, does have to refuel there. You can see him going ahead. 3 different starter items just to make sure he's got as much presence in this lane as possible. He'll teleport back in now. We'll see if he decides to interrupt the back of his opponent. No, Maple should just be able to back nice and easy here as Hanabi shoves in the top lane. Fudge will be left to farm that one out. This farm is going to come out roughly even after he farms up these couple of minions. Should be no reason why he misses much here. But what we're looking at is where's the action going to happen next. You can see both mid laners have now used their teleports. Both of them now trading aggressively back into the PvP. Maple getting the better of that one, finding another 5-point strike at the very back end of the trade onto Perks, who's now just barely over half HP. And you can see, thank you very much to the wonderful people behind the scenes showing us the XP per level. We're starting to hit level 6 on some pretty big champions. Maple and Fudge already have it. Blabber, Perks, Hanabi, all very close. River just slightly behind there, about halfway through level 5.
Bot lane going very well, though, for Cloud9. There are a couple extra minions for Doggo to collect, but about a wave ahead, probably all things considered. Perks, though, they're looking to attack. He has no TP, so this is the most vulnerable. It's often not when you get pushed out of lane the first time. It's the second time that you are most at risk. I think they know a dive is coming here, though. Maple is on his way. There is no TP. Can they kill him first?
All right, they're already after Hanabi. A little bit more damage coming through. Nice phase breaker. Flash for the haymaker, and there's your play. Maple's rotated up, but now he finds himself in a 1v2. Fudge and Blabber underneath the turret. Fudge just taking the extra auto attack to guarantee that he gets the plate. Maple steps forward, but he knows there's no way to find a kill here. Not in this situation. Well played from C9. But PSG Talon sees the opportunity to take the Drake on the other side.
They do lose the dragon, but you really favor the gold at this point in the game, especially because you outscale, especially because you are a 5v5 composition. You are fine giving over an early dragon or two and showing up to those 5v5s later on, maybe Dragon 2, maybe Dragon 3, down the line here. They are already over 1,000 gold ahead here with this composition that scales incredibly well. It's the move up to the top side, very well timed. Maple had a good read, but he spent his TP back to mid lane, so no one could respond. The Morgana is down on the dragon. I'm not sure if Cloud9 had a read on that, but Fudge with the nice haymaker flash, redirecting, making sure that damage does land. Blabber is there, no way out for Hanabi. He saves the TP because the wave was bouncing, but he's going to be falling pretty far behind off that because not only did Fudge get the kill, Fudge also got the plate. So you can see already a 600 gold lead between these two top laners, which is pretty significant. You know, generally the level 1 is going to go to set, but you would hope as the Lee Sin that you are winning in those subsequent levels. When you get a few points in your E, you're pushing out, you're really kind of being able to use that priority to move around. Because if you fall behind, if you're stuck at your tower, it's really tough. Then you're depending upon those kind of highlight Lee Sin plays. And that's always your fallback. Like, it's always possible that you find the angle, you get the Q, ward hop, kick flash, knock in Sven, and change a game. But the floor for Lee Sin is so much lower than it is for Set. Set can enter a team fight, ult someone, just kind of run around.
Floor for Lee Sin's the basement.
Yeah, you're going to be pretty valuable. Whereas that Lee Sin, you gotta find a big play if you're behind, and he's moving towards tabbies, he's moving towards a more defensive build, so your damage is not gonna be threatening whatsoever.
And this is something that you could expect if you look at PSG Talon and how they played their games back in the regular season, right? This is a team that would often leave top lane as an island, allow River to build leads elsewhere on the map for the team. And so Blabber playing around this top side, being able to intercept Hanabi as he goes for a rotation play in the mid lane, being able to facilitate a dive together with his own top laner, they're targeting the part of PSG Talon that should be vulnerable based on the information they have about how this team plays, how they played back in their own home region. And if you're a Cloud9 fan, you like to see that because it shows that the team's doing their homework. It shows that Blabber's able to keep a cool head despite having those bad games that you already talked a little bit about earlier. And C9 has themselves a solid early game here so far. But now it's PSG Talon going in. Kaiwing here with a little bit of lockdown, a lot of damage coming through. And River finds the kill into Perks, but now it's a return 1-for-1 as the PSG Talon support falls. Fudge is still here in a little bit of danger, but considering the fact that that's set, they won't try to pursue this any further. Perks does fall, but the answered kill makes it an even trade.
Yeah, and I'd even say it's actually positive for PSG because that's mid laner for support, right? That's just your level 4 Leona dying here. It also means they have priority over on this Herald. We'll see if C9 wants to get over there and try to re-engage, but I don't think it's going to be the move here with Kog'Maw heading back towards bot. Blabber is in the area, Fudge is moving over, and there's got to be a little bit careful, but it looks like PSG should be able to finish it off, and I think C9, you just need to back it up at this point.
Yeah, Blabber doesn't have a whole lot to accomplish here. You already pointed it out. Sven was left in the bottom lane. Doggo was being rotated up towards mid, towards that Rift Herald, and this is something that you've talked about a lot domestically during our LCS broadcasts, Isaac. I know that you have been frustrated multiple times with teams not properly recognizing that a Rift Herald isn't worth and just letting the AD carry farm instead. This time around, C9's going, hey, you know what? There's no point in bringing Sven up here. It's not going to matter that much. Leave him bottom to farm.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, he is just getting that farm, and this is one of those situations where in the back of your mind, or even out loud, someone on your team has got to be repeating win conditions, win conditions, win conditions, the whole game. Think about what it is you want to accomplish in the game. I know that sounds cheesy, but when you are reminding yourselves, we got Koglulu, chill out. We got Victor, chill out. You have the late game. It becomes much more clear from that point of view that guess what? You do not need that Herald. It is not a game-deciding play, right? Sure, it's a nice to have. You'd like to have that gold and not give it over to PSG, but it's not important in the big picture here. So that's what Cloud9 needed to keep in mind, and I think in this case, they did a good job of it.
Okay, back in top side, Fudge will continue just trying to trade nice and aggressive here with Hanabi. When you have a champion who's a juggernaut and a champion who's a playmaker, the juggernaut will always win out in the just stand and slap the guy type of fights, so Fudge taking full advantage of that one. Back here in mid, Perks versus Maple. The CS just dead even between these two. Maple doing a good job of making sure that he's always maintaining presence against the powerful wave control of a Victor. Now going in for the 1v1, forcing the flash out and getting the kill anyway. Maple just taking down Perks. Easy peasy. Blabber makes it even. River's here to grab a bit of extra damage on the back end of the fight, but that was some fancy movement there from Maple.
Really nicely played there by Maple, getting the kill over onto Perks. But thankfully for Cloud9, Blabber is there for the return kill here. We are going to go into a pause, and hopefully this one will be quick, but we'll see exactly what the reasoning is, and we'll let you know as soon as we do hear anything. Either way, a pretty even game here in the early stages, but given the compositions, given the gold lead over on the Cloud9 side, you really have to favor the way they are looking right now, and PSG, I think, is going to be looking towards these next objectives to really be able to get a lead. We have to remember they have the Herald, so they could be looking to drop Herald, try to play towards the next dragon. It looks like it's the ref working with Hanabi there, so maybe a bit of an issue for him.
Yeah, so one thing that I want to ask you, one question that I want to pose since we have a little bit of time to dive into it a bit more. You talked about you want to see PSG get an early lead. They need to be able to play from ahead with this divey assassin-style comp with a Lee Sin, with an Akali, with a Kai'Sa, with a Leona. What does that lead look like now at this point? Because they do have the Rift Herald locked and loaded. You already said that. They've got the first Drake for themselves. They earned that off of the play that their opponents made in the top side when River was able to grab the Drake. What does this lead need to look like by, say, 20 minutes into the game for you to feel confident about PSG's chances to win this game against the powerful scaling of C9?
So, I mean, it's kind of a difficult question because I think a lot of it depends upon, how the fights are set up. So do you look just purely at gold? And if it's just gold and it's walking straight at each other in a 5v5 and you're talking 25 minutes, you need to be probably 3 to 5K ahead at least, I would think. But if you can actually dominate the vision game, if you can be the one set up earlier and really get that perfect engage where Akali is coming from one angle, Lee Sin is behind them potentially, you're fighting in division, you're trying to walk in blind, then I think the requirement for that gold lead becomes a lot lower because PSG has the ability to create advantages just through positioning, right? So I think the setup for these dragons and the setup for the fights is so important. Where Cloud9 really wants to play is where the map is completely lit up, where they see where these flanks are coming from. They have their frontliners mark them. You see the Lee Sin, all right, set, you go walk at him. All right, there's the Akali, okay, Blabber, Udyr, you go walk at him, right? Because if those guys can not get into the back line and actually, kick in the Victor or assassinate the Victor or the Cog right off the bat, then I think it's pretty much a one fight there for Cloud9. So much of it really is going to come down to the setup. And of course, the gold does play into that because if Cloud9 are way ahead in gold, well, it's a lot easier to set up and get that vision around Dragon. If you're behind, well, PSG is probably going to have first move towards that Dragon, going to be able to set up more easily and going to be able to perhaps find that team fight.
Right. You have a lot of pick potential there with PSG Talon if they're ahead, but you can see now the tweet on your screen. We've got, man, I remember the lock-in tournament just a few months ago. No one believed in Fudge, but man, is he playing so well at MSI. It's been a pretty interesting journey for Cloud9's top laner who started off his time in the LCS with a little bit of trash talk and then a not-so-impressive performance in the lock-in tournament at the beginning of the year. But then he just stayed with it. He kept grinding. The team had faith in him. His teammates had faith in him. And he's grown quite impressively overall. But now let's take a look back at the play that was made here in the mid lane. Our outplay as Maple goes in, decides to go for the 1v1 against Perkz, and he finds it in what looks like just an absolutely effortless play. Of course, he does die at the end there because Blabber's ready for the follow-up. But Maple being able to recognize these windows, being able to say, okay, you're dead, and then execute on it, that's the kind of play that I need to see from this composition to have faith that they would be able to take down a Cog Lulu Victor in the late game.
Absolutely. And you can see he played that very, very well, kind of effortlessly dancing around that gravity field, never really staying in it long enough to get stunned up, steps in, gets the empowered auto, backs back out, knows the range for the flash ulti, for the ulti one as well. Very, very clean stuff there. And when you're going to play one of these assassin-style champions at this level, you have got to have that confidence, right? Because if you're going to hesitate when these minute opportunities do show themselves, well, the opportunity is going to be gone. You're going to end up pushed in, stuck under your tower. You've got to have that killer instinct, and that's something that I think Maple has had throughout his entire career.
Okay, so update on the pause. Hanabi is reporting that his champion moved while he was frozen. League officials are investigating if this is true and if it impacted the game at all. So no update on how long this is going to take. Usually if league officials have to investigate something, the pause will be a little bit longer. So once we have any more information, we will let y'all know.
Hopefully not going to be too long. I'm not sure if I have a bit of a goldfish brain here, but I don't think he just died or anything, right? Nothing really recently happened before we went into the pause with Hanabi, so hopefully it wouldn't need to be a chrono break or anything like that, but of course,
league officials have ruled that it did not impact the game, and we are good to go. We are ready to continue. We are back in action. Now, let's see how the game is going to look from this point as PSG Talon do secure their second Drake of this game.
Second Drake, again, not really an issue. Where it does become a problem is number 3. And that's where Cloud9 will have to be ready to fight. It's not about just showing up. It's about showing up a minute early, getting the vision, everything we were talking about, prior during that pause is really going to shine through here, I think, at this next Infernal Dragon. You don't want to be giving a snowballing comp Infernal Soul. You know, that is really, really scary.
No.
This comp that needs to hit a threshold to be able to assassinate you, to be able to, you know, get into the backline and burst someone down. Well, Infernal Soul is pretty damn good at helping you out. You know, when you're playing these shielding, healing comps, it's really about kind of staying above that threshold where you can't instantly die, and then all of a sudden they don't have enough damage to actually break through all the Lulu shields and deal with this cog right off the bat, and then your fight starts looking pretty rough. So PSG going to be setting up for this. They will be playing very heavily towards it. I expect Cloud9 will as well. And really, even from 2-3 minutes before that dragon spawns, you can expect these teams to start playing for river control, to start playing to deny wards. You know, even these entry wards in the jungle, Kaiwing moving up, you know, knocking that down. He's trying to deny the ability for Cloud9 to even take a peek into the river and slow down their vision control, because Vulcan can't really do it by himself. He needs his top laner or his jungler there. When you are playing an enchanter, you can't face check like that. This Rift Herald does get dropped down. Should get the charge.
Yeah, the charge will find the plates, but after that, Shelly won't get too much more value. And I like the fact that you bring up the shielding and the kinds of difficulties that they have to work through. Never mind, we got to dive here in the bottom lane. The shield's a wild growth. None of it's enough. 2v1, the dive comes through, and PSG Talon find their third kill of the game. River coming around now, looking for maybe a chance to use that Predator, pick up another one on Sven, but he's aware, and he's keeping himself safe.
Yeah, but that's actually a really big deal here. That could eliminate the gold lead. This tower likely going to go down, and Vulcan was trying to hold that by himself. He just needed to show a little bit more patience, allow the tower to take some damage so that Sven can arrive. Maple looking for another kill here on Perks.
He goes again. All right, not quite going to find himself the setup for a second solo kill. But the point that I was going to make, we're getting to the point of the game where a lot of first items will be coming online.
Yeah.
And once Doggo gets his mythic done, I want to see Serpent's Fang second item on him. I cannot think of a single reason why you wouldn't. When you're up against Set, when you're up against Udyr, Victor, Kog'Maw with a Lulu, there is so much shielding on the Cloud9 composition. I think Serpent's Fang's got to be the most valuable item in the whole damn game.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if you're trying to go that lethality route, right? Like, you know, if you're already going towards a collector, it's just, I think, the better option in this case. Of course, it did get some changes on this patch. I can't remember exactly what they were, but I think the TLDR is like it's easier to use but does less burst or something like that. Excuse me for not remembering the exact.
It has shielding. It has shielding.
Okay,
like if you are struck by a target or by a person who has Serpent's Fang, all shields on you are reduced by 50% of their value, and all shielding that would be applied to you for the next 3 seconds will also suffer the same
Fudge
penalty.
in trouble.
Okay, let's see if Fudge is able to outplay this one. Goes for the ulti, flashes over the wall. Blabber's coming down to help him here. They will find themselves in the 2v2, but with the teleport arriving and Kaiwing also approaching on the flank, Fudge is grabbing the first kill here in the 2v4. He should surely die, but it's 1-for-1.
Yeah, honestly, good call Worth on that. You get 2 flashes, you get a teleport, and you go 1-for-1? That is huge for Fudge. Yes, they get the shutdown, but Leona flashed, Morgana flashed, Lee Sin TP'd, Doggo even used the heal, I believe, down there. So, you know, a lot of summoners actually expended on the way. Excuse me, that heal must have been used somewhere else, but either way, really big there for Cloud9, and they're going to be able to get this Rift Herald. If you can get this right now, you can drop this mid, use it to set up for the dragon. Fudge will be up, he will have his TP, so he can go up topside if he wants, or even just group up with the team to have those frontliners there to be able to help you set up vision. Sven has his first item complete. It is the Wit's End. There's a lot of magic damage over on this side from PSG. He's most worried, of course, about the Akali, about the Morgana, but there is even some magic damage coming through from the Kai'Sa. The Emax.
Oh boy.
Oh no, this is bad. Dying 30 seconds for that dragon.
Bye-bye, little bumblebee. Buzz, buzz, buzz all the way back to the spawn platform, buddy. Maple with a nice pick up there. 3-1-1 here on this Akali. You're talking about Wit's End helping protect you from some of the burst, but Kog'Maw alone versus Akali, there's not an item in the world going to save you from that one. Fudge in a 1v1 against Hanabi while the 3v3 happens back in the mid lane. Hanabi losing this duel rather decisively, but the rest of his team rotates over in time. His life will not be in danger. Shelly summoned up here in the mid lane once again. We'll see how much value that gets.
Careful.
I think the charge should be enough to take this turret down here since it is second Rift Herald.
They just need to,
not quite enough.
They just need to play it slow. You need Sven back here. So the Rift Herald bought them a little bit of time, but you've still got to be playing it pretty careful. Akali has no ulti though, so if they do start as soon as Kog'Maw arrives, there's no ultimate on the Akali, so I don't think PSG can even fight. And you took the Rift Herald, so there's no option on the top side. So PSG actually have to just give this up. It was a good kill from Maple over on Kog, but because of that one duel by Fudge that sends Hanabi back to base, because of the ulti timer there's not even a contest from PSG, so pretty big for Cloud9. But Cloud9 have lost their gold lead. You know, a couple plays that did not go their way. Some really nice stuff from Maple. The dive on the bottom side where Vulcan was trying to hold the tower, loses that and the tower itself. So the gold is now even. Which is slightly concerning for Cloud9, but again, given game state, given the composition, as long as Cloud9 have the setup, you really do favor their composition. And Kog here is closing on his second item, you know, building towards what is likely going to be a Hurricane, I'm assuming. Could be Rapid Fire or a different route, and then he'll go towards his Mythic third, it does look like, and he's going to be pretty powerful when he does hit those 2-3 items.
Yeah, that's always the name of the game for Kog'Maw, right? We talk about the scaling, we talk about the range and the power, but it does take usually those 3 items before he really feels like that absolute win condition that he's meant to be. Also, do want to point out, shout-outs to the guy in my stream a month ago that told me this. Because Kai'Sa is a ranged champion, the Serpent's Fang shielding reduction will only be 25 instead of 50. I completely forget about the ranged champion difference in items because I only play Skarner and he's not ranged. But Kai'Sa will only have 25% shielding reduction if she goes for that item. However, 25% reduction against this many shields still means a lot. Gore Drinker done for the Lee Sin to provide him some extra sustain tank, drain tank ability there in the middle of those fights so that when he jumps in, he might just not have to die after making that huge kick. Leandri's online for Morgana. We know how powerful this champion is when she stacks those dots on dots on dots. And a Proto Belt giving Akali even more playmaking. Maple's the guy to be afraid of if you're on C9 this game.
Yeah, absolutely. He is very strong right now. It looks like Doggo will be going PD second, but he could still go back towards that Serpent's Fang next if he doesn't want that as the third item. Maybe wanting some attack speed here, get that E upgrade. The invisibility on the E is really, really big for team fighting, so maybe just trying to prioritize that. PSG should take the gold lead with this tower going down here, has played the map well, has been able to continually keep threat up. And while there is, you know, a lot of strength in the side lane with Fudge, you know, Fudge has been continuously winning this 1v1, he has to often group up to help them contest for vision. Again, you know, when you are at the Leona, it's more safe to walk in and try to sweep out some wards than it is as the Lulu, and that's always a concern. But PSG, they're on the Baron. And I don't know if Cloud9 even know about this whatsoever. Now they should know about it, and it won't go down fast enough. So C9 will be able to ward them off, and the question is, do C9 want to commit to a fight? I think they should just back off and be happy with the fact that you got PSG off of that Baron, but Blabber is playing this pretty far up.
Yeah, Blabber's playing aggressively. Blabber's about to die. Blabber trying to get himself away. Hanabi in the middle of 4. Cloud9 taking a ton of damage. Blabber's going to be shut down, but PSG Talon are absolutely tearing Cloud9 apart. 1, 2, 3, 4. Knock them all over, baby. Make it 5. Double kill back for the AD carry, and PSG Talon get the ace.
And they're going to get the Baron as well here. They are very low, but they should be able to juggle it and pull this off here. No one's going to be up in time to actually prevent this from Cloud9. And while the slight gold lead was going to be fine, while the game position was going to be fine, Cloud9 overforced. You got them off the Baron. There was absolutely no need for Blabber to be staying in that position. What was he getting out of Baron, you know, bear slapping up a Leona and getting a bit of poke damage? It accomplishes absolutely nothing in the big picture here. He takes so much damage right off the bat. Look at how the team is spread. There's no damage coming through from Perks and Vulcan to start it off, and then a beautiful ulti there from the Leona, catching multiple members here from Cloud9 in the new Axe Effect replay. They all pile in, they take down the Cloud9 backline, and that was just atrocious from Cloud9, but a beautiful play here from PSG, capitalizing on it. You know, the game really was in Cloud9's hands, and you can see they know they should not be giving that one up. Now with the Baron over to the other side, I mean, Fudge fighting heroically in the end, trying to get some kills back, but now you're down that 3K mark that I was talking about earlier, and you're going to have the Baron power for this next Dragon. So now Cloud9 is forced with this tough choice of, do you contest for this dragon anyway and maybe just lose the game right here? Because Baron is a lot of extra value on top of what is now a 3K gold lead. Or do you just give over Soul Point and a potential win condition to them in 5 more minutes? So, you know, Cloud9 could have just sat back, waited for this dragon, fought on even terms. Instead, they are now in a tough spot here. Hanabi trying to threaten the flank. I think Cloud9 are not even going to have the option to contest, to be honest here. And they're put in a really, really rough spot now. And PSG have the game in their hands. They are looking to grab their second win here, move up in the table in this Rumble stage. And Cloud9, it feels like really starting to kind of fight for their tournament lives a bit.
I mean, absolutely. I don't think it's a bit at all. I think this is a serious game that this team really needs to be aware of exactly the gravity of the situation. We started this day off by talking about how these are the most important opponents for both of these teams. These are your most direct competitor for that 4th slot moving out of the Rumble stage. These are the guys that you need to be able to take down, and right now, PSG Talon is showing us that they have exactly what it takes, executing on this dive assassin-style comp against the powerful protection of a Cog Lulu, but now we need to see what they can get with the Baron. There's still that ever-present timer that you mentioned earlier. Kog'Maw only gets stronger as more minutes are added to the clock, and so every win that PSG gets, every Dragon, every Baron, every minion wave, we want to see them making the most out of it.
Yeah, and so far, so good. You know, they're going to be able to grab this mid lane tier 2. They should be able to push back up and grab this bottom lane tier 2. Cloud9 are trying to defend it, but you know, a lot of the scaling becomes less of a concern when you're looking at Infernal Soul here potentially for PSG, and that's really the biggest problem, is that not only do they lose the fight, not only do they lose the Baron, they lost access to the 3rd dragon, they lost the flash off of the Kog'Maw, so the gold lead extends, and there's that ever-present win condition now of Infernal Soul. You know, Cloud9 will have to get 3 straight dragons to even remove that from the equation here. Trying to chase down Hanabi, but will just use that kick in retreat, and that buys them the time to grab another tower on bot side. The Baron gold is going to extend this up to a 5K low. Yeah, it's getting pretty problematic here for Cloud9.
So when I asked you earlier during the pause, and I said, what kind of a lead do we need to see 20, 25 minutes into this game for you to be confident about PSG's state in the game? You said that even if PSG aren't finding the best angles, you would want to see 3 to 5K.
Yeah.
Well, here we are at 5K, and we've been shown that Cloud9 will give them those angles, and as soon as they have them, they can make that big play. Having the Leona ulti hit everybody, having Maple just dive into the backline knowing he's got the damage. This is a scary spot to be if you're Cloud9, and PSG, they played the early game well, they played the mid game well, and now they're in a spot of power here 25 minutes in.
Absolutely, and Sven is also down about 2,000 gold plus 2 levels on Doggo, which is, you know, a significant amount of base stats that you're missing out on as well. So the gold lead is actually, you know, the difference in power is actually equal more probably to like 3,000 gold between these 2 ADs. You can see a full 3rd item plus the QSS. Doggo is going to be incredibly difficult to deal with, is going to have the Black Shield, the Morgana behind them. And Cloud9, you know, potentially their lives are going to be decided in this tournament at this next fight. There are many games to play. So, of course, there's always the possibility of a comeback, but this does feel like such an important game for them. And this Soul fight could very well decide it. Cloud9 will have their summoners unless those get blown prior to the fight, but...
Okay, Doggo taking some damage here, River the same. Leona ulti used defensively just to keep Cloud9 from finding anything else, potentially going after a kill here. Hanabi's on the flank, but wards are going to spot him out, make it so it should be impossible for him to find a move here. Perkz walking up towards the top side, but considering River is around, he's got to be very mindful of his own positioning. Sven moving up, has Blabber and Vulcan right next to him, and honestly, that's the way it needs to look for the rest of the game. Kog'Maw must have his VIP protection detail. If he does not, it is so very easy for a Fed Akali to just kill him instantly.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're ever split, or even if you're not, and you get kicked in, or really they get access to you, if they hit their full combo, the Lulu shields are not going to even come close to saving you, right? You need your front line to be absorbing and to preventing. You can see the look here of what they're trying to accomplish with this composition. Shield him up, speed him up, he procs lethal tempo, he runs at you with the W, gets those autos down. That can become pretty threatening here. You know, he is behind in gold, so it's less threatening than you would want. But Perk's gonna have to be really careful in this side lane. You cannot afford to get picked here.
No.
Because this next dragon very likely will decide the game. Cloud9 need to set up, need to group, need to get towards that dragon. And the difficult part is, even if you get it, and it's like, it's that sigh of relief, but it doesn't really get you that much. You know, the individual dragons are...
It gets you one Infernal Drake.
Yeah, the individual dragons are pretty weak in this current state of the game. It's so much about the soul. So you've got to show up every single time, no matter what, or PSG gets this permanent buff that maybe just ends the game. And on PSG's side, if they don't like the fight, they say, who cares? I'll just take a tower here. I'll pressure your inhibitor there. No big deal. So we'll see if Cloud9 can withstand the onslaught here and if they can actually play a really clean game, because they're going to have to be playing, you know, very mistake-free game.
Well, Fudge is not in a great spot here. The extra CC coming down with a haymaker going out. Stopwatch from Kai Wing buys him an extra moment, flashing away to guarantee he won't die now. Fudge trying to back up. There is 14 seconds until the Infernal Drake, and Cloud9's top laner has 15% HP.
He can
Granted,
TP.
He's got a TP. He can come back into the fight with a teleport, but that means that they won't have their biggest meatball to try to face check and move forward here on the positioning. It's PSG Talon with priority over the pit.
Maple's behind them.
Maple's ready to go. He is not seen by that ward because he is sweeping it. The Dragon is now under pressure. Blabber must go for a steal here, otherwise they give over the Infernal Soul. Hanabi running away. Remember that River's the man to watch. That's the Morgana. There we go. Blabber with a hero steal. But what's the team fight going to look like? Blabber tanking up here in the front yet again. Hanabi going into the back line. They're going to kill Sven. They're going to kill Perks. They're going to kill Vulcan. They're going to kill everybody. PSG Talon just ripping Cloud9 off the map. And look at the team fighting this team's got. Fudge will do what he can in the 1v3, but River takes him down. Minion wave in the bottom lane. PSG Talon on the victory march.
Nicely played there. Hanabi gets in the back line, kicks in Sven. He flashes over the wall, but Doggo had the ulti to follow the flash. He gets into the back line, executes Sven, and PSG wipe Cloud9 off the map.
PSG Talon, it was an important game for them to win. They stepped up, they won it, they took down the scaling composition. They were willing to draft based on skill. Or is it over yet? Am I getting a little bit too excited? Sven's able to find one. Nope, there's another kill. Maple just doing what Maple does, baby. 5-point strike. Look at the damage this man's able to provide. PSG Talon padding the stats a little bit more. Triple kill for the mid laner, and they take their win over Cloud9.
Almost for a second there, Cloud9 get the respawn, but PSG just kill him again. Triple kill for Maple to finish it off, and now PSG, they have beaten the two most important opponents for them. They are 2-1. They took down Pentanet GG. They took down Cloud9. So even if they struggle against some of these other teams, which they may be able to take them down, they have been looking better and better throughout this tournament. More than a match here for Cloud9, finding the angles in the 5v5, capitalizing on the mistake from Blabber over by the Baron. They had that killer instinct that you must have with this type of composition, and they really made the most out of every opening that was given to them. They're so deserving of the credit for that. Maple having a hell of a game on the Akali, getting the individual outplays on Perks, showing up huge in the 5v5. Doggo was absolutely massive for this team as well, you know, saving his ultimate to be able to actually jump in on Sven after the flash. Hanabi getting the kick to apply the plasma and force the flash from Sven. These things were absolutely huge. And the fact that they actually caught Fudge prior to the Dragon, so Cloud9 didn't have the proper setup and had to rush in there to actually stop the Dragon with Maple on a flank, right? Cloud9 never got to have that setup that they really were looking for. So well-played game by PSG here, and another heartbreaker for Cloud9. A lot of people, again, you're going to be looking towards Blabber in the river when you force him off the Baron, you refuse to back up. That, to me, felt like it turned the game.
Well, PSG Talon just played some better League of Legends today, and we'll still be seeing them later on in the day for their second game. But now it's time to toss to a break, after which we'll take a closer look at PSG's win and hear from Hanabi